everything else.
So can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we see it.
Yeah, you're on.
I have a lot to talk about, so I'm just gonna move fast. And if anybody have any questions, feel free to email me. My number's on my website. Even if you don't know me, feel free to call. I will take your call. Even if you're like from we've never spoken and you're from wherever, South America. Okay. So the 3 keys to making a great photograph and how to achieve them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my studio. It's Ade and Gina Studios, and we do business as Ade Oshodi and Dr. G Makeup Artist. So it's run by me and my wife, and you can find us both at adeandgina.com.
Hey, Ade, just to interrupt, you see the little hide button at the bottom? Can you click on the hide?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Perfect.
And so a little bit about me. I'm a stay-at-home dad as well as a wedding portrait family photographer. I'm a world traveler, but I don't like to say that out loud because it sounds like bragging a little bit. But I love to travel. I have a sociology background. I went all the way to grad school and left and decided to become a photographer. And I married my college sweetheart, and I'm a teacher at heart, and I'm a wedding photojournalist. And I put that in quotations because I utilize primarily photojournalistic concepts, but I'm not a pure photojournalist. So I am going to run a quick presentation, a quick video, so you kind of get to see how I document an entire wedding day.
Wow.
I like the music.
Thank you. Thank you. They're
that just for us, right?
They're Persian, so that's why I chose that music. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's now over. That's right. That is exactly the 3 keys to getting a good photograph. And think of any photograph that has lasted throughout the history of time, from Henry Cartier-Bresson onwards to any master it has these 3 elements. And I talked about this before. It's DIE: design, information, emotion. Mm-hmm. And it's a concept by Craig Semetko. So if I am talking fast, it's because I want to get through it as quickly as possible because it's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And so design is how I organize the elements in my frame. So when I think of design, I think of how I'm organizing light and shadow, composition and color in a coherent way in order to tell a story, in order to tell the best story. Because I'm a storyteller. By looking at those photographs, you can see, I hope that you could see that I was telling the story of that couple's day. I wasn't just making portraits. I wanted to tell the entire story so their children can say, okay, this is what happened.
Mhm.
Right? Information. And so I say information in terms of context, the subject in relationship to the surrounding, answering all the questions of who, what, why, when, where, and how. And so I'm going to elaborate on all that. And then the final part of it is emotion, right? And remember, emotion is meaning the moment in the image or how it makes you feel. So it's one of two, either emotion in the image or how the image makes you feel. So there's the easy way to break all that down. And if that's super complex and it's the first time you're hearing it, is you think of it as light, composition, and moment, right? And so as long as you're photographing people, those things are important, because photography means to write with light. So how I'm approaching the photograph, the first thing I am looking for, always, never fails, is where is the light coming from? If there's no light, I am adding light. Then I'm figuring out my composition. And the last, which some would argue is the most important, is the moment, but it does not come first. So I build my photograph starting with that. And then the moment, I just wait for the moment to occur. So I see the light, I position myself in relationship to the light, where it lights the subject, and then I wait for the moment to occur. Right? So moment comes all three, because moment makes the person who's looking at the photograph feel something. It makes them feel the emotion. So moment always trumps all three. I'm sure you guys have clients and you've produced a photograph and you hate it, but the client loves it because it makes them feel something.
Yep, 100%.
Awesome. So design, I'm going to go through design quickly. You can look anywhere online and you'll see tons of articles about design. But here's how I think about design: light, shadow, composition, and color. Right? So here is a photograph I designed. It has several layers. The first layer is the candle, then the couple. So it has light, it has moment, it has composition, it has color, right? So that's what I mean by design. So light and shadow. So I'm a nerd. So there's these high light, high shadow photographs. And so I wanted to know where it came from. So I went back and looked at it, and it was called metaphysical art. So here's how I'm designing my photos using deep contrasted light and shadows. This is my kid. She's running down the neighbor's lawn. She fell down. The dark shadow you're seeing is the neighbor's house. I call this photograph Pac-Man, right? Because Pac-Man is eating her.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank
Good.
you.
I like that. Yeah. That's cool, man.
I'm at a wedding. I see the sun is blaring through the window, and those are the bars in between the glass. And so the groom has two wedding shoes. That's his mother's leg is sitting. So I set up the shoes, and I was like, and she was about to move her leg, and I'm like, no, don't move your leg. And that's how I'm using it in terms of, that's also how I'm using it in terms of wedding.
That's
so
dope.
Thank you. So I'm going back and I'm learning the concepts, and then I'm applying them to wedding. Chiaroscuro, I'm sure you know this, by Caravaggio, one of my favorite painters. And it literally means, the word in Italian means light to dark. So when I see it in weddings, I just shoot it. Light to dark, right? Using all the element. These are the makeup artists. Right? So composition and form. And like I said, you could find a million ways about this on the internet. So, but I wanted to talk about, in terms of photojournalistic work, if you had to break it down to some of the easiest ways of making great photographs, is using layers, frames, and context. Those are like the top three, right? And then everything else in interplay. So if you think about, it's always layers, there's always frames, there's always some sort of context. So for me, composition is about subtraction. The easiest rule is only include in your frame the elements that are essential to your story. So anything, please, I think I heard a question that was coming there.
No, go ahead. I find this very interesting.
Thank you. So I'm always subtracting for the frame. If it has nothing to do with the story, I don't want it in there.
Really, eh?
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's how I'm using frames at a wedding. They're naturally
Nice.
they're walking up from their portrait session, and I'm running behind the staircase and waiting for her to get there. I know she's coming up there, and I ran and just wait.
So question: did you scout this location prior?
So in the early days, I would go like maybe a day or two before, but now like I shoot all my weddings out of town. I don't have that time. I have a family, so I'm showing up an hour early.
Right. Because this is like a dope frame, right? Like you would have to know that. This would be a dope spot to actually be there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I tried this several times, and rushing, I didn't get back. So soon as their portraits were done, I literally just ran, and I had a chair set up there. So this is like several different tries, and I got this one.
Yeah, because I'm always looking for cool framing, man. Because framing really makes your image, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. At West African weddings, they always tend to have like an announcer. He does jokes. He announces the cake cutting, and the couple is dancing, and he's announcing, and I shoot through his mic and his arm and create a frame.
Yeah.
And a layer. Again,
I have a quick question.
Shoot, please.
So I do this. I wonder if you also do it. Sometimes you get a good frame, just like you spoke about, like the announcer through the arm and stuff. You get that good frame at a wedding. Do you try to duplicate that at other weddings?
Mm-hmm. Do I try to duplicate? So yes and no. So like sometimes I'll keep working on something. Here's how I work on something. I work on something before the wedding. You understand? So I have a busy 4-year-old. She is always running around. I cannot tell her to stop. I cannot tell her to pose. So I am working on her. I shoot street photography sometimes. You can't stop and pose people at street. So I'm always working.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get to the wedding, it's already muscle memory, if that makes sense. And then I'm adding several things based on my inspiration, movies. You know, movies is like the ultimate teacher. There's so many things going on in movies. You know, I learn a lot from movies. I learn frames, layers, all sorts of stuff from movies. So again, I'm at a wedding and the bridesmaids are having a good time, and I'm trying to shoot through this guy's hand. It's not the greatest. I wish the bridesmaid was more in the center, but why I love it is that he has a trumpet tattoo on his arm, and I was able to shoot that with the trumpet that he's playing. I was literally up on a speaker box. I had nowhere to go. And this is at like 20 millimeter or 25 millimeter or something like that. So again, layers and frame in relationship there. Layers, the bride comes down the aisle, the groom is crying. I'm showing context of what's going on. So she's seeing his reaction. So context gives our photographs meaning, or a lack of context can alter the meaning of a photograph.
Right.
Rembrandt said, without atmosphere, and I think what he meant by that is context, without atmosphere, a painting is nothing. So if you don't have supporting elements to support your main subject, forget about it. It's nothing. So here's what I mean by context. This is the same photograph. I literally just cut it down. Imagine if I had turned my camera vertically and just shot at her and her uncle kissing her. I missed all that beautiful things in the background.
Yeah.
I missed the dress. I missed those people, how they're supporting her, how they're helping to tell her story.
Right.
So that's what I mean by context in the simplest form.
Hey, real quick, Meeks, can you take down the comments because it's blocking some of the presentation?
Okay. All right.
Okay. And then, so then one of the other things is figure to ground. And this is very important. It just means ground means background. So the figure, your subject to the background. So a light subject, a dark background. So it reads well to the eye. Simple concept. A dark figure, a light background. So I stand here. This was in New York City. Right. Some guys literally approached me and like, what are you doing here? Are you a police officer?
Right.
And got up in my face, and I stood my ground, and that's how I was able to get this photograph. So I wait for a guy in a black outfit to end up on the white wall. So again, like I said, I'm always practicing, and then I'm practicing.
Ooh, that's crazy, man.
Right? So I'm practicing at home. So so I'm not anytime my background is blown out, it is perfectly blown out and it's able to tell a story. So I'm not just shooting into the sun because it's the cool thing to do. Right. Yeah. So here's how I'm doing it at weddings. Even I'm framing her head around the blown out area. So your eyes are drawn specifically to her face.
Man.
Right?
Question for you, I guess, because we have people on the show. I mean, what would you suggest for people that are just starting in photography to kind of like look for framing? Like, how would you what's like one tip that you can give someone that's new to look for framing or look for background? Or
okay, hold on. Before you answer that, so yes, Ade's horizons. I know him very well, and he intentionally tilts his horizons a lot of the time. So just look at that, and actually, he has a reason for that. So he's going to talk about that too.
Sure. Awesome. So so let me start with the tilting. It's good and bad practice. So I shoot primarily with a 35. So when I'm tilting, it gives me more in the frame. And sometimes to be honest, sometimes I over tilt because I think it's like a cool thing to do, at least for me. So that's primarily why I tilt, to add space.
Right.
So I'm tilting my camera left down lower and camera right up higher, and it gives me more space in the frame.
I think it's cool.
Thank you.
I think it works.
Awesome.
It's almost like
times it doesn't, and I think and when you're documenting, like a wedding like this on the fly, I think it makes sense to fit more in the frame. Whereas, like if you were taking a landscape or a building and then cocking it 20 degrees to the left, it wouldn't make any sense.
So
I think the way that he has it displayed here, it works perfectly.
100%.
You are absolutely right. When you're taking a landscape in a building, and I agree with you 100%, symmetry is super important. So you do not want to tilt. And thank you for pointing that out. So triangles, right? And so all these things are just making your frame stronger. So what I do is that I'm not, this triangle happens naturally, and it clicked and I knock it out the box. But it's not I'm going into weddings looking. You know what I mean, I've done it so much. It's muscle memory.
Second nature. Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course. But I mean, when someone's starting new, it's hard for someone to look for that stuff. Like how does someone just walk down the street and kind of see framing? Right? Is it just more of like a practice thing, or is there like something that you can suggest?
Amazing question. Great question. So you small chunk it. You do it one at a time. So for the next 2 weeks, you go downtown and you have your camera hanging off your shoulder. You don't necessarily need to take it off and shoot, but you go around just looking for frames. Okay. That I walk by the movie theater. This person in front of the movie poster, mimicking the movie poster, makes a good frame.
Yeah.
I commit that to memory. And I just go in my house. And then I'm looking in the movies. I'm going to the movies. I'm looking.
Right.
And you do frames for 2 weeks, and then you move on and you do triangle for 2 weeks. So by the time you come to the wedding or whatever, or street photography, you're not practicing there.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in you.
100%.
Great question.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? So.
Right. So triangles, right? So guys, look at me. I'm an amazing photographer. I saw all those triangles at the wedding.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I got low. I saw them made the hands, and I got that one triangle, right? And the triangle between her arm and her dress, that's pure luck, right? And so luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah. Man, we could do a math equation off this photo.
You know what? It wasn't luck. It was the Nikon. It's Nikon.
Are those isosceles triangles?
It's the D750. Right? So again, I did not see that at the wedding. And a lot of things that the masters make, I would assume they didn't see it, but they've practiced so much and so hard. I remember reading about Josef Kudelka. And one of the things he would do, he would just go out and shoot a roll every day. A little around his house, he'd shoot grass, every little thing, but he's always practicing. So that's the point, right? So diagonals. Again, I am not practicing, but I just saw the frame, I saw everything, and boom, I hit it at that spot, and I got a little bit lucky again, right? You see the diagonals hit on every spot. Yeah. Great. Man. Curves, the most one of the most popular curves photograph in history, Henry Cartier-Bresson. I saw this photo a million times, so when the opportunity presented itself, I used it. Right, you see all the lines in the bottom are pointing towards them. The lines, on the wall, the curve, right?
Yeah, the composition of that picture is amazing.
Thank you. So this is a concept that I wish I can tell everybody. There's this photographer in England named Ross Harvey, and he has this thing on his site called Synergy. And I wrote to Ross and I said, Ross, how you define synergy? And this is what he wrote back to me. Synergy is simply compositional elements, I'll bet art, a person, alignment, or even just a color that share a relationship that's either direct or juxtaposition. The real fun and test is finding the subjects and then adding interesting light, again, complementary juxta. Ross, what are you talking about, brother? Here is what he means. Synergy, the background, the foreground, interacting with each other to tell an amazing story. This is by a street photographer that I love, Jonathan Higbee. And look, it looks like that graffiti on the wall is popping out of his bag, right? Synergy, the background and foreground is working together.
Damn.
Craig Semetko, the background and foreground is working, right? It's like you can't learn this stuff. Yeah. Here's how you do it in weddings. This is a photograph.
That's good.
Right? I saw him coming over there. And I'm just waiting. And I'm waiting. Boom. And it happens. With Ross, I believe that synergy can also be in terms of emotions. The bride and the groom in the background, the groom's parents in the foreground. Same type of emotion.
Yeah. Nice.
Color theory. And you're still on design, right? Short color is emotion. Color, red cars make you speed, right? That's what I heard. That's what I've heard, right? So red generally talks about love, and purple, magical, ethereal, eroticism. So we're going to beat this dead horse a little bit. So one of this thing, beginning photographers, learn this color wheel like the back of your hands. Learn complementary, analogous, triadic, monochromatic. So when you see them, you can put them in your photographs. They're doing it in movies, right? Look at the background and the foreground. Complementary colors makes your photographs stronger. They're doing it in the movies. House. It's in the movies. It's everywhere. Once you notice it, you can't ever get rid of it. Analogous colors, the same type of colors. Monochromatic colors, green, reds. They're doing it in the movies. Famous photographer Alex Webb, he's doing it. Steve McCurry, one of the most famous photographs in the world. I bet you he purposely put her on that green background. I have no doubt.
Of course.
I wrote to him, I asked him some questions, but he never got back to me. He was busy. He was his I think his secretary told me that he was out of town. But I will write. I will continue to write to him again.
Yeah, get an answer.
Right, Constamanos, one of my favorite photographers. Look how he's using the purples and the yellows and the shadows. Right, here is color theory in wedding. Here is how they're using complementary colors in logos. Sometimes you get lucky. I got lucky at weddings, Nigerian weddings, red and blue and orange. Sometimes you have to create it. Red again. I put them against the green background. I saw the blue sky, and in the fall, I put them against. Right, Firefox occurs naturally in nature. Sometimes you get lucky. The light designer knew, so he put purple there, and he put yellows in the background, and so it was there for me.
It's awesome, man.
Sometimes I create it. I saw the green background. I saw the colors they're wearing. I put them on the green background. I used the light and the shadows. This is my daughter and my wife. We go to Carnival every year. The designer of the costumes are using the colors. He's using blue and orange, green and pink, pink and I think that's turquoise. And so it's just there for me to capture.
Man.
And sometimes I have to make it. I literally made this. I saw the fluorescent light hitting this door and I know it would show up green. So I put a red gel behind them.
Huh.
Right?
Powerful.
We're down in Cuba.
Nice.
Beautiful country, lots of colors.
Yeah.
The blue house next to the red, next to the yellow house with the red underlying. I saw it. I put my family on there, and I'm just waiting for something real cool to come into the frame. Yeah. And then this is my wall at home. So the point is to show that that photograph is on my wall at home.
It's made the wall, so you really, really like it, eh?
Right. So we got through design and we went really quickly, and I'm keeping an eye on time. And so I'm going to go through information even faster. Okay. Information is literally context, answering the who, what, why, when, and where. Right. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about the 3 elements that makes any great photograph: design, information, emotion.
Yeah.
And so we're now at information. It literally answers who, what, why, when, where, how.
Yeah.
So the question I ask here is, what information do we have? And since we're at time, I'm just going to give you the answer. The information we have is that we know we're at the Rittenhouse. We know what time it is.
Yeah.
We know what type of speakers, but we do not know who or what is in the background. We can assume it's a bride because I'm a wedding photographer, but there's no information in there that tells you it's a bride.
Yeah.
Information, we know based on the information here, we can assume that she has a headache. Because look at facial expression and look at what she's holding in her hands.
Yeah.
So that's what information is. Information, what do we know here? We do not know that's a groom. It could be just a guy in a suit. But we do know he's posing in front of an expensive car. We don't know if it's his car, but we know what type of car it is.
It's my car. I let him
right? Right. And again, information, we know exactly what's going on here. We know it's a bride. We know it's bridesmaid because the dress tells us that. Yeah. And we know where they are. We know they're going somewhere or coming from somewhere. Right? So that's what I mean by information. The most important one, emotion. So moments is all about the F word, feelings, right? How it feels.
I was about to shut down the stream.
Can get deep, man. It's gonna get real deep.
Right? So emotion is in the image, or how does it make you feel? So these are 2 famous photographs from David Hearn.
Brian on the left.
Right? And the photograph on the left, emotion.
I don't know how I got that photo.
Can we keep it moving?
On the right is how does it make you feel? Right? Donna Fierto was she did a project on abusive relationships and abuse. And I think if you're a decent human being, this photograph on the right makes you feel something. There's no emotion in the photograph, but it makes you feel something. I want to kill that guy every time I see this photograph. Right? So that's the point, right? Emotion in the photograph. So quickly, I'm sure people are going to want to know some techniques on how you get here. How do you get this from a photojournalistic concept? Yeah. So before I start this is the last part of the presentation. So I'm just gonna, because I'm like mowing through it quickly. And if there's any additional questions, hit me on Instagram. My telephone number is on. My email is on my website. Feel free to call.
We're gonna come to your house, man. We want the.
You know what? That's easily found. I'm not gonna say it, but it's easy to find where I live. I believe in good energy, so like I usually everything's out there. Find me, call me, I'll help you. So before we move on to this last part of the presentation, my approach and my techniques, is there any questions that you may want to ask for yourselves or on behalf of anybody that's listening?
Yeah, guys, if there's anyone in the audience that has a question, feel free to ask, because
I have a question. Are we going to get a certificate after the show today?
Absolutely. Certificate of completion. But I'm going to solve it
Good
too.
job. Good job so far. Good job so far.
It's not going to be one of those stamp-on signatures. So long story, yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things you have to do in terms of you have to anticipate. Even in the type of portraiture I do, you kind of have to anticipate. And I've been asked many times, how do you anticipate? It just comes with time. I don't have an answer. It just comes with time. You learn, and I'm sure you guys can agree. You know, after a while, you just know what they're going to do. You're so in tune with them, you know. And I'm still learning how to anticipate.
It's a gut feeling, right?
Right. And so one of the basic ways I wanted this movie. Will Smith, don't kill me, but this wasn't his greatest movie. And I think he explained it best in this movie. And he said, root yourself in the moment. See, listen, feel, and smell.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're documenting street photography, you go to a farm to document a farmer telling his or her story of her cows. You got to smell. You got to, right? You got to sight, sound, smell. So if I heard the bride saying, I love my dad, we grew up, as I'm interviewing her, if you're talking the stuff, and I know that, she says, dad is coming up too. I know there's going to be an emotional moment based on what she told me. So I'm going to go in the position and I'm going to wait. Understand what I'm saying? And I'm listening for the sound.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
So one of the easiest techniques a beginning introductory photographer can do is square up. And what I mean by squaring up is photographing from a position where everyone's face can be seen, generally resulting in the photographer being at a 90-degree angle from the subject. What are you talking about, Ade? Here's what I mean. Right? So I'm in a 90-degree angle, so everyone I can capture everyone's reaction and emotion. So here is how I'm doing it. So here's a video.
You are the handle to match and the flame. Am I right? I need some
You see that? Square. 90-degree angles, square on. All right, another technique, vary your composition, your angle, your perspective, your distance. So you go close, you go far, you go high, you go low. Even in portraiture, you shoot it from several different angles. And guys, it's a great way of selling additional pages in the album because you got so many different perspectives. So here is how I'm doing that. Change my angle.
Oh yeah.
So change the angle, the distance, the height, the perspective. Change your lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything. So different height, angles, perspective. So this is 6 feet 5 inches tall in front of Penn Museum. I climbed on a bar stool and made the first picture on the left. Then I got the first picture on the top right. I got low.
You can't put the BBC on there. Can't do it. Am I allowed to say BBC? Never mind.
Not like the news station.
You're talking about the British Broadcasting Corporation, right?
Yeah,
obviously, I'm talking about the British Broadcasting.
Absolutely.
Come on,
Who else would he be talking? Right? And then I shot through the arms. I got low. So I got high. I got low. I got even lower. And made pictures around the statue.
Always keep moving, man. 100%.
Right? Yeah. Keep moving. Yeah. Go close, go far. Approach and technique. Call it fly like a hummingbird. And I learned it from this French photographer called Frank. He gave me the language to so pretty much the the hummingbird goes up, down, it flies forward and back like a helicopter, and you're moving your body in the same way as the hummingbird. And what that does, it allows you to problem solve in the frame. So what do I mean by that?
And like I look together like this game's over.
Right.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
Right on there.
So I'm problem solving with the camera to my eye. So I saw that thing is growing out the back of his head. I moved my body left, shot a lot. So I moved my body left and his head blocks it.
Yeah.
Right? Be stubborn, compose, and wait. And this is a very difficult technique to learn if you're afraid of people. And so here's what I mean. Even in this sacred moment, I have a job to do as a photographer. I show up there as a photographer. I have a job to do. Alex Majoli, who's one of the ex-president of Magnum, said something to the effect, when a fireman shows up to a fire, he's there as a fireman. He has no job. He cannot say, I'm a fly on the wall. He has to show up as a fireman. I'm a photographer, so I have to show up as a photographer. Right? So here's what I mean by be stubborn and wait.
Is that your second shooter or somebody just really?
That's my second shooter.
Okay. And are you shooting with a 35 right now? Nice.
So I waited for that shot. So at that moment, what I told her was shoot the groom's reaction. So like as the bride is coming up the stairs, I just wait and wait and wait on because I saw my frame and just kept waiting for it until it came to fruition. Approaching techniques.
Just something to add real quick. I know those of you watching, when you go to, if you haven't shot mini weddings, when you go to shoot a wedding, make sure you ask about the permissions. Like, you know, I shot a Catholic wedding where I wasn't allowed 10 feet close to the podium, and everything had to be done from afar, no flash. So you just have to know the rules and know how far up you can go. Sometimes you might not be allowed to go that far up, but if you are, use it to your advantage. All right, I can go.
Ade, were you shooting with a 35 there?
Yeah, I was shooting with a 35.
Do you ever find that the people are distorted shooting with that focal length?
So
like, for example, as they get closer to you?
Yes. So if it depends, right? So again, and I keep stressing this point, you do the work at home. So like, if I had to think about it, I know probably like 2 arms length. So that's like 2 yards. I know that they're going to look natural. If I go, so at like an arm's length. So if I go beyond the arm's length, their faces are going to start to warp. So like, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just staying at an arm's length. I'm getting as close as an arm's length. I'm not getting closer than that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So again, do the work at home.
Yeah, I wanted people to hear that, because I know a lot of people shooting with that focal length are getting way too close to their subjects.
Absolutely. And one of the things is, guys, do not turn to 35 vertically. I know Salarm will disagree with me, but it warps that body. It warps that body. And of course you can break every rule, right? But you have to know placement of subject. Personally, I don't turn my 35 vertically. If I need to do vertical, I'm turning my 85 because it gives me compression, right? And I know Salarm has like a whole documentary thing on making sure he can prove the entire world wrong, and that's pretty cool because we know
It's not just I do it sometimes too. On a recent shoot with Paul, I was shooting a very wide angle. I was just trying out creative portraits with a wide angle. So I was shooting a 17 to 28 millimeter lens. And I tried a whole bunch of stuff. So going closer, more than arm's length and stuff like that. Just so, but like you said, you got to know the rules to break them, right? So the first thing is know the rules first, and then if you want to break them, you're breaking them.
Better said than I. Know the rules and then break them. Don't you know what I mean? Like, so know what the 35 gives you lots of depth. The 85 gives you lots of compression, and it makes their faces look tiny and smaller. And then you know that you can make these beautiful portraits at the wedding. And once you know that, you go break it. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. You have to see everything in your frame. Portraiture, whatever you're shooting, landscape, you have to see everything in your frame. And again, how that happens, you have to do the work at home. You cannot go and shoot a landscape and then, you get amazing landscape when you go to Alaska and then you're ready to practice. You fry the small fish, so when the big fish comes, you know how to fry it flawlessly.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So Mary Ellen Mark, an amazing photographer, says, think of the whole frame, not just where the subject is. Don't leave any space accounted for. So basically she's saying fill the frame. The difference between a picture that works and one that doesn't work is often what's in the background. Because remember the picture where the thing was growing out the groom head and I hit it? Yeah. Watch your background. So watch everything. See everything in your frame. So the logical question would be is, how do you see everything in your frame? Do you have several eyes? What are you talking about, Ade? Here's what you do. How do I see everything
in my frame? I want that slide.
So take your eyes off the action. The action is going to happen. Take your eyes off the bride and groom. Take your eyes off the farmer. Take your eyes off the cow. Take your eyes off the car. Whatever you're capturing, take your eyes off that and keep your eyes on the background and the frame and the corners, because that's going to happen regardless. Focus on it. Get your eyes off of it. It's hard to do.
Yeah, hard to do, man, because you're just naturally inclined to look at your main subject.
Absolutely. And it took me years to get it.
And
years.
For me to recently, well, since last year, I've been shooting a lot from the back of the LCD instead of sticking it up to my face. And for some reason, especially for events, it just makes me more aware of the whole surrounding, and I'm able to quickly catch when stuff is happening and not be zoned into the one subject. But I mean, I know people say you put it up to your face to make it more stable and stuff, but there are other ways you can fight it, shoot faster shutter speed, and if you have a good sensor, it should be fine.
And it goes back to what the brother said, know the rules and then break them.
Yeah, man.
Hey, and if you're using your back of your screen, you're not a pro.
If you hold it out like that,
and that's not my words, okay? That's
and if your camera doesn't weigh 10 pounds, you're not a pro either.
You're not a pro, right? If you're shooting with the nifty 50, you're not a pro either.
Nope.
It's so many things, man. Like, but know the rules and break them.
Yeah, man.
So keep it simple.
Yeah, man.
Especially when there's chaos, find order. There's chaos going on in that dance floor, and I found order.
Yeah.
Right? That's the type of friends you want anyway, the friends who cheer for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, and also, so this sounds contradictory. Make it complex, right? So fill the frame with many stories and design elements. And what is meant by that, your picture should be layered, not busy.
Right.
So Renoir, another one of my favorite artists, he fills the frame and it's layered. There's so many stories going on. The lady with the dog. These were his friends, by the way. and he painted them all in one photograph. That creepy guy in the back that's hanging over the lady, that guy from high school, we all know him. Like, hey girls, what's up?
Yep. Yeah.
We know that guy, right? And here is how I do it with family. I'm practicing. I'm always practicing.
Yeah.
Right? So shadows and layers, and we're at Mardi Gras, and this woman walks in the frame and gives my daughter some beads, and then the baby's looking at my baby, and then the couple in the back is holding hands, and all these stories are unfolding. Right? And then I'm still practicing. We're at the Children's Museum, and each kid has a story. That's my daughter, and that's my mother-in-law, and my wife. Thank you.
I mean, I love the floor.
That person in the background to just walk. Oh, thank you.
It's good, man. Like, basically, there's a reason for everyone in that frame. Like, there's a reason for it. It's not a distraction, right? They're there on purpose.
Absolutely. And then here's how I do it at weddings. Do the work at home, so when you're on the job, you're not practicing.
Yeah.
Right? Get close. Duh.
Yeah.
Right? If your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough.
True. So true.
Robert Capa. Right? And again, that depends, right? In portraiture, that doesn't necessarily apply, right? So you've got to push yourself harder. You've got to start looking for pictures that nobody else could take. You've got to take the tools you have and probe deeper, right? Yeah. And that's Allard. And so here's how that works. She's getting her hair done. I go in the bathroom. I go high. I have nothing. I go low. I have nothing. And we're going from left to top, right, left to bottom. I try to layer the frame to get some texture. I have a harsh video light, so I have nothing. I try that photo that everybody does where I highlight the spray. Boo, it didn't work. Try to layer. It didn't work. I go outside and I layer, and the kids are playing, and I have something now.
Yep.
Got to push yourself. Use
all
all
that child in the background too.
Right. And yep. And the kids' emotion just makes it for me.
Yeah, man.
So approach and techniques: photograph the periphery, especially when you're photographing people. So the action is happening. You're at a car race, you're at NASCAR, and everybody is going around the circle in the car, and you want to photograph the cars, but what's going around? Yeah. Great story. Henry Cartier-Bresson was sent to photograph the coronation of King George. The photograph left, and he returned with no photographs of King George for the newspaper. He photographed the periphery, and he got this amazing photograph. Diane Fitzmaurice, an amazing photographer, favorite photographer of mine, Pulitzer Prize winner. The game is happening. She photographs the nuns cheering.
I love
it. So I'm like, oh my God, Diane, I love you. Right? Learned this from her. So I go to weddings and I photograph the periphery. Bride and groom is the action. Their kids are crying.
Amazing.
Right? The guests watching on at the bride and groom. The groom's sister is crying. Right? Avoid dead space in your images, even in portraiture, in pretty much in anything. We want to avoid a heavy dead space, any type of photography.
Yeah.
Right? Go around to photograph what he's writing. I got this big dead space in the table. So I go in a little closer, fill the frame. I chipped off his ears a little bit, but we're going to pretend we didn't see that. Photograph motion, right? The strongest moment occurs in the motion before the thing touches the thing. And after the thing touches, and after in motion from the thing on touching the other thing. That, my friend, is a rap line from a trap song that I made up. What are you talking about, Ade? None of it makes sense. Bars. Here's what I mean.
Bars.
Before the thing touches the thing, the strongest moment.
Right. It's that anticipation of it, I suppose, right? Like that.
Right, the peak moment.
Yeah, that peak.
Before the thing touches the thing. The moment is not the kiss. Right? It's just before. You see the tension in your hands and the build up to the kiss. Sometimes it's after the kiss. Right? Before the makeup brush touches the face.
Yeah.
Right? That's the strongest moment. Sorry. It's my kid's bedtime. So we're coming to the last three or four slides. Photograph tension, gestures, photograph visual signs of relationship between people. And again, this works for people photography.
Yeah.
Etching, eye contact, gestures, notions of support, right? Gestures. The most beautiful photograph is the one that, the vulnerable photograph. The things that makes us vulnerable is the thing that makes us beautiful, right? That's not that's a famous author. I forgot her name, right? Gestures, notion of the fingers, the gesture in the fingers.
Right.
The gesture, the gesture in the neck.
Yeah.
Tells you the story of how she's right.
Yeah.
The notions of support, the connection between the dad and his daughter. And then I'm layering with the groom's reaction of how he's seeing it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's it, guys. And I know I ran through it as quickly as possible because I knew we only had an hour. And
amazing, man.
I think
amazing.
So
well done.
I appreciate it. Any questions that I can answer? Can you take down the comments, Meek? They're blocking the presentation. Okay.
That is, yeah, that's not for the.
I guess maybe the question would be, what do you find the most challenging out of all that you just went through? Like, what is one thing? Is there one thing that you still have that you're trying to get better at?
Yes. Watching my corners, taking my eye off the action. I am still. It's a
great tip, man. Taking your eye off the action. Yeah, that's a great tip.
Taking my eye off the action. Quick story: I photographed my last kid's birth for 9 months, and so I'm in the room, and my wife had a C-section, and so as they cut her belly to take my boy out, I'm photographing the boy, but I'm missing the doctor who has been with her for 9 months, and so I got the boy, but I cut off half his face. Keep your eyes off the action. Keep your eyes on your head.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, it's a good tip.
It's a good tip, man. I like that. Taking your eyes off the action.
That's Rachel. She has a comment for you down there. You see it?
He's more prepared than we have been for the past 3 months. That way. we had
for this show, man.
Love all the sample photos. My regards to your family. Thank you, Pelican Bugs. Excellent presentation, Ade. Thank you. Rachel is her name?
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that.
So my wife, Rachel.
Oh, it's your wife. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, so I know her. Thank you. Very informative. Totally makes sense. 4-year-old at home. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm now being able to see the comments. Yeah. So any other questions? Guys,
that's a quick question.
You allow me to talk so much.
No, I mean, honestly, like your passion is unparalleled. I've never met anyone more passionate about photography than you, man. It's I think it's infectious, to be honest. But was there one single moment that got you into photography? Like, was there one specific photo or moment that you're like, this is what I'm going to be doing as like a career, or was it kind of like a gradual process for yourself?
So it was a gradual process, and my story is very long. It means that I always tell Salorm, if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you a very long answer. He knows this.
Yeah.
He's like, got it quick. Short story. I got a point and shoot. I went to Ghana. My friends, the only thing I knew how to do was rule of thirds that my brother and best friend taught me. And I kept doing that. And people were like, oh, you're good. And I'm like, So I came back. I got a DSLR.
Yeah.
Then grad school was starting not to make sense. I was working on a master's PhD, and it was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was having a tough time in grad school without my, the mentors. We weren't connecting. Let's just leave it at that. And my wife was like, you're wasting your fellowship. Just come home. And so I left, and I got home, and it's like, how I'm going to feed myself, move back in with my mother. And it's like, I saw this one travel photographer because I love to travel.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he says he shoots weddings and pays for his travel. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to shoot weddings and pay for my travel. And I shot weddings and never left. Because it's who I am. I'm in love with love. And so the whole beginning, we coming back to the beginning, I married my college sweetheart. And so, like I said, I think people who are good photographers actually care about what they do. So the person who cares about the environment makes photographs. You make landscape photographs. And people care about animals and PETA, make pictures of animals. So that's my story.
Yeah.
Show.
It's great, man. It's great.
All right, thank you.
You gotta have the passion and the love for what you do.
Right.
That's what we said the last time when we were talking about wedding photography.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if a lot of people see wedding photography is the hardest thing to do, but that's because you don't really. If you're going in there thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go in there because it's good money, you're never really gonna be happy with what you're doing because you don't have that passion. Right?
Passion, yeah.
Go in there and love what you do, and then the money will be the bonus.
I have one thing to add to that though. If you charge enough, you wouldn't feel the pain.
I think one of these days we should have a session on pricing.
First time I actually priced right, and I was shooting a wedding that was paying very well, 3 times. My last 3 weddings combined in one payment. I didn't even feel any bodily pain. I was walking around like a mad dog. But yeah, still you have to have.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, it's good.
You guys have any last words?
Man, I'm just pumped to go out shooting now. All of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
I get my color
One
wheel
of these days,
downloaded.
I'm gonna take Paul to a wedding shoot.
You gotta take me, man. You gotta take me. Yeah, I don't know. My final thought, I guess, because it's past 8:30, and Ade has to put his son to bed.
And daughter.
And daughter.
And daughter.
And no, we were just talking about gear at the start. Sony and Canon and all that, and gear is great. But what we just went through, there's so much more to photography than besides the gear, right? I'm sure we could have gone at least 2 hours nonstop on all this stuff.
And Ade doesn't use any recent gear.
Yeah, it's not even about gear. It's about
He doesn't even use the recent Lightroom. His Lightroom is like the old one.
Like Lightroom 2?
The old standalone Lightroom. He was telling me about some slides, and I'm like, bro.
I was telling him about the texture slider. I was like, yo, let me show you. I'm like, what? What is this?
It's like, bro, is this GIMP?
Yeah, so that tells you there's a lot you don't need and you can survive, and
Yeah.
Right.
All the masters, we have better cameras than them.
Oh yeah, the master, yeah.
Oh, it's great, man. You should let us know when your TED Talk is for real.
Yeah.
Maybe I just did it. I'll just put the TED Talk logo.
Make our logo off. Put the TED Talk logo. It'll be fine.
When it's done, I'm actually going to cut off the beginning part and make sure it just starts from the presentation, so that it's it remains like that.
Okay.
Okay, Brian, any last words? Wait, I didn't hear what you said.
No, that's okay.
You like Nikon, right?
Oh, I love Nikon. Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Ade. It was very informative, very in depth. It was I think it's awesome. I think a lot of things you could go back and rewatch here, and and it was good. Some of the there's a few things I learned, and there was a few things that I was reminded of. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us. I think a lot of people get something out of this video, and I wish you the best of luck on your photography career. And I think you're doing great things. And I'm sure we'll see you in some brides magazines if you're not already out there. And so yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Evans.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ade, for joining us today. Thank you guys in the chats and in the comments watching us, for always being here to support us as well. And as we always say, the key is to go out there and practice. And Ade has also added to that today. Practice makes perfect. You cannot say, I'm a photographer, but I only shoot when I get paid, right? You have to practice. So when you get paid, you can actually deliver on that. So thank you, Ade, for all the tips today. I've been shooting weddings for a while, but there's always room to learn and improve on whatever you're doing. So there's nothing like too much information. It's always good to learn other people's way of doing things, because you may end up picking one or two things there, that will help improve your workflow in positive ways.
All right, thank you guys. Next week, I don't know who is going to host next week. It's one of these awesome guys here, Brian or Evans or Paul, and it's going to be on their channel. So make sure you tune in, and we'll see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining. I want to bring
you guys.
Oh, I think
we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we have more topics coming up. So
yeah, for sure. Right. Thank you so much, man. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys.